Alnobak, wearing our heritage. And let me tell you a little bit about it. It's a special traveling exhibition developed through a partnership of the Vermont Abenaki Arts Association and the Lake Champlain Maritime Museum. What does it mean to be Indian in Vermont? What does it mean to be an Indigenous artist? Native identity finds expression in different ways with each generation. When the state of Vermont recognized 4 Abenaki tribes in 2011 and 12, Vermont's Indigenous artists embraced the right to identify their work as Indian art. The inspiration for Alnobak, wearing our heritage, emerged from a decade-long collaboration between Lake Champlain Maritime Museum and Vermont's Abenaki artists, community members, and tribal leaders. Wearing our heritage brings before audiences in New England a group of objects and images that document the way in which garments and accessories that reflect Abenaki heritage have been and still are made and used to express Native identity. These objects are made and worn for self-affirmation, to affirm connections with family, clan, band, and tribe, and to express identity within the geographical locale co-occupied with mainstream culture. We hope that this exhibition will encourage public engagement and understanding of some of the issues associated with Native identity and recognition, and evolving creative expression by members of a traditional culture. Vera, Longtoe Sheehan, has made the transition from community member and tradition bearer to contemporary artist and curator and founder of the Vermont Abenaki Artists Association. She says, Indigenous artists no longer need to choose between traditional and contemporary art forms, she says. Many of us practice both, and our contemporary art is informed by tradition. For some Abenakis, it manifests in creating a pan-Indian style clothing for powwows. For others, it means bringing back the clothing of their ancestors. Since the late 1980s, there has been a growing movement of Abenakis who are reclaiming their traditional clothing, beginning with the 18th century clothing and slowly working their way further back in time. Stay with us. We're going to be talking to Vera Longtoe Sheehan. She's a traditional Abenaki artist known for her twining, bags, and she's going to talk to us about some of her work and also this traveling exhibition called Alnobak, wearing our heritage.
Yeah, these are a pair of smoked moose brain tan moccasins. It's called the high pucker toe. It's more of the northeastern style. And I'm making these as a custom pair for our chief, Don Stevens. And so he has a pair of really good moccasins that are very hard to come by these days. There's not many people making them anymore. So they're pretty labor intensive, and the materials alone are kind of what are so inhibitive about these. So it's all hand tanned smoked moose from Alberta. And so they're tricky to do. So.
This was a noose that you...
No, not one I shot. It was harvested by somebody in a community in the northwest area of Alberta, and probably tanned by some elders, I would imagine. It seems to be the only people that are really actively doing a lot of the traditional tanning these days up there. So they will sell their finished hides to a leather wholesaler, sell those hides later for people like me who want to use it for crafting purposes, arts. Yeah. So that's the story on these.
My name is Rhonda Bisa. I am Abenaki. I live in Whitefield, New Hampshire, and I've traveled over here today for the opening of this exhibit, Alnobak, Wearing Our Heritage. I'm the person who made this coat. In years past, they were called a chief's coat. I choose not to call it a chief's coat because that was what the Europeans called it. When they were looking for someone to conduct business with, they looked for someone wearing this type of coat and thought they were a chief. But I've seen photographs where women wore the coats, children wore the coats, men wore the coats. This coat is a work in progress, as many of the older coats were. They would be handed down to the next generation to continue to do the to do the beadwork on them. But this coat is to honor the Abenaki people, the 5 tribes here in the Northeast, the Passamaquoddy, the Penobscot, the Maliseet, the Micmac, and the Abenaki. So there will be beadwork on this coat to represent all 5 tribes. The cut of the coat, the style of the coat, is based on a Micmac coat that is held by the Museum Victoria in Melbourne, Australia. You can see it has panels, wedges in the side. So that will represent the Micmac people, just the cut of the coat. These cuffs are to represent the Penobscot people. This beadwork design came to me in a dream, and it represents the river for the people, the double curved designs. In later time, a bridge was built to the reservation. So these shiny bugle beads represent the bridge that came in later times. Work like this is sacred. Unlike work we did to sell to tourists, our own clothing contains our spirit. It's meant to honor our ancestors. It's meant to honor our people. It's meant to honor who we are today as Indian people, trying to find our way in the 21st century, yet hold on to our old values. A coat like this, things that I've made for my own regalia and for other people, every stitch is a prayer. So as we bead these items, as we sew, we do a prayer for that person. So it becomes a sacred object. And this is how our people used to do it, and this is how some of us choose to continue. But I wanted to mention there seems to be a resurgence, a revival a new interest in these coats. And right now I've been teaching a few men how to make the coats. Men who have never sewed in their life are doing it, which is really cool. Later on, I'm going to teach them how to do beadwork so they can do beadwork on their coats. But one man has gone on and made 5 coats. Another man just sewed his first coat, and I have 3 more that are interested too in making these coats. So I'm very pleased that the men are stepping forward to
Yeah, no, I got asked to talk about the coat that I'm working on. It's this is more the traditional trade coat. They would barter for, and this is one of the Hudson Bay blankets, and this is some of the traditional stitching to preserve it, and they were just blankets, and so they would barter for the blankets, and then they would make them into coats. And it was, wool when they first got to bargain for it was quite an amazing product for them. And one of the things that took me a lot of time to do is also they would wrap them with hand spun wool. So, and this was a finger weave, and this was a particularly difficult pattern to replicate. But it's So, anyways, these are all just works in progress, and in fact, Rhonda's helping a lot of men actually make their coats, and it was one of these projects where men that were having spiritual experiences wouldn't actually have some of the women make them, but they would make them themselves, their coats themselves. And there's actually been a lot of men lately wanting to do that, and all kind of saying the same things. And so there's a lot of us that are actually sewing and making our own coats now. But what's really amazing is, just doing the coat is hard enough to, especially for some of us that really haven't been sewing that long. But the beading that we're all doing to these coats, I mean, it's going to be years. And some of these, the coats that we've been working with, are generations of people just adding through, family lines, and sometimes traded for, depending on who they were in the tribe or the culture. So it's just been a great experience.
And your name?
And I'm Skip Katie. And I'm Mi'kmaq and Abenaki.
By Eloise and Vera, this is their exhibition with all of the artists who contributed to this amazing show. Please come up and say some words about it, and welcome all our friends. So please, Vera and Eloise. Yay!
I'll speak first because I have less to say. I'm Eloise Beil from the Lake Champlain Maritime Museum. I've been in charge of collections and exhibits there for 18 years, and 10 years ago, this project really had its very first beginnings, and it is an amazing culmination and also a springboard for the next 10 years and beyond. The Maritime Museum was inspired in the immediate years leading up to the Champlain Quadricentennial to say, wait, there's an important piece of history that isn't being focused on here. Before we talk about the arrival of Champlain, we need to talk about the lake's first navigators, the people who were here and are still here. And so we began this process of working with the Abenaki people to be a place where all of you could tell your history in your own words, speak of your experience, and share what it is not only that has happened in the past, but what is happening right now. And early in that process, after a couple of years of annual encampments that were more historically focused because of the public energy around the Champlain Quadricentennial, we then moved to looking more and more at the present day and towards the future and what we could do together. And seeing all of the amazing creative work of today's present day Abenaki and how it connected going back to previous generations and how it is a gift going forward, that became the inspiration for Wearing Our Heritage. When the Vermont Abenaki Artists Association was founded, and there was in the light of the state of Vermont recognition of the Abenaki people, we were then able to openly say and celebrate the artwork of the Abenaki people of this whole region and be a venue for sharing and showing and saying, yes, this is the work, this is the heritage and the future. That became the inspiration for Alnobak, Wearing Our Heritage. And Vera and I have been dreaming about this for a long time. We can't thank you all enough for bringing what you bring and sharing it with us. The Flynn Center became a wonderful third partner, offering this beautiful venue and opening their hearts and their doors to wider audiences. And we are looking forward to the development of educational resources that have been in the back of our minds for a long time. This became the catalyst for bringing them forward. And when the exhibit will be here, new audiences will see it. And in June, it will move to the Maritime Museum for the summer. I hope you will all think about joining us and celebrating again the last weekend in June at the Maritime Museum's Abenaki Heritage Weekend, and then continue to watch as the show transforms itself in each of the subsequent traveling venues. So thank you all, and I'm going to let Vera really have the chance to say her words.
Thank you, Eloise. You said that very well. You really took the words right out of my mouth. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for coming to celebrate our heritage with us. As you look around the room, you can see our clothing has changed very much over the years, but our identities have very much remained that of the people. This is very emotional for me right now, so I am sorry if my voice is cracking. This is really the culmination, not just of 10 years' work. This is like my whole life, my whole adult life is invested in this exhibit. And not just my life, but I'm looking around the room here at people I've known, some people 20 plus years. Denise made the prayer coat behind me, and Rhonda Esau's in the room someplace, and she made the elder's coat on this side. And I know I'm gonna miss people, but I just want to point out that there are people in this room that have been wearing our heritage, our 20, 30 years plus. So I'm thinking back to like the late 80s, early 90s, when a lot of people came out and started wearing clothes that we knew to be traditional Abenaki clothes. After a very long time in our history where our ancestors were wearing pan-Indian style clothes, which have become a stereotype based on so many different things as part of the colonization process. Our clothes slowly started to slip away through history. As you can see on this wall, we start with textiles and buckskins, and when the Europeans arrive, we start wearing trade cloth. And the more trade cloth we wear as you go along the room, the more our clothes start to look like everyone else's. On this wall, you see some remnants from our ancestors. If everyone could just take a look at this, I want to call this, I guess, the Wall of Honor. Because this is, I guess, what really inspired what's going on today. There are some ancestors on that wall that held our history and our culture together and passed it down to us, and without them, we wouldn't be standing here having this celebration. So I just want to take a moment and point out a few ancestors. I can't see everybody through the column, but over on this, in the original, in the photo all the way on the left, Cleffield, Bobswin family. Just moving over, my own grandmother, Nellie Longtoe Sheehan, is up there. And if she is in the oval picture frame on the right, and if you go over there and you take a look at the necklace she's wearing white beads that are very similar to white trade beads. I don't really know if they are or not, but that's what they look like. She wears it with her crucifix because, you know, we have been Christianized, and there's an animal claw right next to it. She's holding her heritage at a time when it was just dangerous to be Abenaki. Below her is Nancy Snow. She's the ancestor of Luke Willard, who's not in the room right now. But she was the matriarch of that family. Up above, Leon Briggs from Chief Don's family. To the right of them, Molly Keating is remembered as a very important Abenaki woman, and she's holding a photograph of one of her ancestors, Mary Watson Settequist. And right next to them is the late Chief Nancy Millette Doucette. And if you look at her outfit, she had that outfit made to replicate that of her ancestor, Mary Watson Settequist, to honor her. And then as you move over, right past the hat, there are 3 frames stacked right on top of each other. The top one is Trudy Ann Parker, who is an elder of the Cowasuck community. And right next to her is her Aunt Sarah Somers, who she wrote the book Aunt Sarah about. Below them is Martin Gumpy, and he's holding his daughter, and they are the great-grandfather and grandmother of Jill Cressy Gross in the photo to the right, and she there is holding her son Solomon. Below there is Arthur Whitecloud, and he's looking over his daughter Willow Green and Liz Charlebois. So this is truly a hall of honor. This is, I think John called this a sacred space the other day. I think we have created a sacred space, and I see this as still evolving and growing, and it's going to move to more venues. So if there are people in the Abenaki community that would like to add photos from their own family as this moves along, please contact me. Let's take a moment and just acknowledge some people in the room. First, I want to say thank you to John for reaching out to us and inviting us to be here. This is a beautiful step for our people to be welcomed into the mainstream arts community. And it's been a wonderful partnership that we plan to continue. Eloise, thank you so much for more than 10 years ago reaching out to us. I remember the first time you sat in the room and you told us of your of LCMM's commitment to celebrate the first navigator. So also without you, this wouldn't be possible. And standing in the room, Chief Don Stevens, you're one of the artists in this exhibit. We also have 4 generations of your family on the wall, walking, dancing in the circle together over there. And we have your great uncle, Diane Stevens, thank you. She was the photographer that caught that moment and snapped that moment in time. Denise Polio. As I said before, she created the beautiful prayer coat behind me. And for the Pennacook Abenaki, thank you for providing original pieces in this exhibit. They provided original trade beads in the frames over here and one of the original baskets on this side. Mike Dakota. Hey, how are you? Mike did a headband that's over in the back on the front wall. I see Liz Charlebois just walked in. Hi. She did the birch bark bitten earrings in there. Jan and Nor, the purple outfit with the embroidered flowers. Let's see, I think we have Erin here, Erin York in the corner, who's going to be demonstrating while we're celebrating.
Whose beaded stethoscope shows that.
Oh, yes. Erin, I'm so sorry. We had a last minute submission in this exhibit. There's a beaded stethoscope in a black case on the front wall, and that's from Erin. In today's Native community, healthcare workers have taken to beading their stethoscopes so Native people know when they're, who's taking care of them. Have I missed anybody? Also, Brian Blanchett. I wanted to take a moment. Brian is helping me to do some translations for labels as this exhibit travels. So those translations haven't made it into this incarnation of the exhibit, but our vision for the future is that when the labels are hanging on the wall, the words will be in Abenaki first, then translated to English. So thank you all for coming. And please, if you have any questions, ask. Say hello to the artists. I'm sure they would love to explain more. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brian Blanchett, lead singer and founder of the Black Hawk Singers. I wanted to wear something a little more traditional, but with a contemporary twist on it, so with the drum, to represent our culture a little bit better. And I decided to go with the British officer's waistcoat. So I commissioned someone to make the waistcoat itself with all the gold on it and everything, and sort of consider that to be a trophy. And I turned to Rhonda Besaw and asked her if she would do some beadwork on it, and she considered this to be a blank canvas. So, as you can see on the front, right, I have the double curves here on the front, on the St. John's wort in different places as medicine, and I have, where is it? Come on now. There's also, on the back, I have the double curve. And these are some really old, from the 1800s, copper beads along the sleeve. I also have fiddleheads on there as another form of medicine, and Rhonda explained and everything that was that she sewed into it and the meaning for it, and it's just good medicine for me to wear.
Michael Dakota, and this is my beadwork here. It's a hat band, and it represents the unity of all the people of the world coming together to help protect our world for future generations. This band was created 2 years ago and became more important as the crisis in North Dakota came to light with DBL and protecting our water. So I'm pleased that this is now in an art exhibit that will be traveling.
And your work is done on a bead loom?
Yes, I work on a loom that I made myself. So I do a lot of beadwork. I started beadwork about 4 years ago. I'm self-taught. I do beadwork like we have here, the seed beads. I also do beadwork on a larger loom called wampum beading. It's an old and traditional way of beading. I also do make hand drums and drumsticks, rattles. I'm ever expanding and ever learning.
Thank you.
My name is Denise Pulio. A member of the Kawasaki Band of the Pennacook Abenaki people. I'm from Alton, New Hampshire.
Your work on the coat is beautiful. Could you tell us about it?
Sure. This is a prayer coat that I made in 1993. It came into existence after attending Catholic school for 12 years and learning about Jesuit contact here in the United States, or what's now known as the United States. I made this jacket to honor my past, honor my present, and to show my future with the decoration and the symbols that I embroidered on the coat.
Yes. You also added, is that moose hair? Or?
It's deer tail. That would be white deer tail. And brass cones. It's moose hide ties to close the jacket.
Could you tell us the significance of that?
Of the ties, or I used ties what I felt would have been used at the time. We would have had trade beads as well, but to be quite blunt, I was new at sewing and I was afraid to do buttonholes. So I decided to go with a little more old school method that our ancestors would have used. I've now overcome that fear, but
I love seeing the beadwork next to the stitcher.
This is what would have been taught to us by the nuns when they arrived here. So it would have been another form of conversion.
Diane, you're also doing other traditional crafts. Could you tell us about it a little?
Sure. I do coil basketry work. I created the bluebird on the ash basket. That was a labor of love. I do leather work, random bead work, not strong on the bead front. Moose hair embroidery, tufting, just whatever I happen to feel like at the moment. I don't really look at these as artistic abilities. To me, there are things we would have known. To me, it's general knowledge, not artistry, so I kind of look at things in a different manner than most people. So it's kind of strange.
Well, I was told that there is not a word, an Abenaki word for art, that it was every day.
Right. It was the norm. We didn't As time moved on, yes, we did have special clothing for occasions as more and more contact became relevant. But before contact, we just used things. We didn't have special shelves to hold grandma's dishes. We just used them. So, yeah, it's just a different thought process.
Tell us a little bit about what you're working on now and what you look forward to this summer.
Right now I'm preparing for a lot of museum exhibits. We have one that just opened up at the New Hampshire Children's Museum in Dover. It's the 13 Moons of an Abenaki Child's Life. It takes you through winter up until fall, what would happen in a child's life growing up in this region. We have antiques mixed in with contemporary artwork, stories, history. It was a lot of work, but a lot of fun. We have events coming up at Strawberry Bank, the Mill Yard in New Hampshire. There's a lot. I just don't have my calendar.
Give us your website.
Sure. We can be found at Cowasuck Band of the Pennacook Abenaki. It's www.cowasuck.org. That's COWASUCK.org.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, my name is Liz Charlevoix. I'm Abenaki, and I'm one of the artists in this exhibit. So these pieces here, they're what are called birch bark bitten work, and what that is it's a really, really old form of art. It's probably one of the oldest art forms on the continent. And the way it's done is you process the bark to a single layer, and then you fold it up as many as 16 times, and you bite into the bark with your teeth, and the teeth leave impressions on the bark. And as you can see, then you unfold it, and it leaves these symmetrical designs inside.
So how did you discover?
Like I said, it's a really old form of art, but it's one that's not widely practiced anymore. There really aren't any artists in this part of the world doing this anymore. There are several in Canada, but that's all I really know. So I had seen some bitten work, and I got really, really interested in it. So what I did is I researched it, and then I met a bitten work artist at an event in Connecticut last year, and I just experimented and picked it up on my own. And fortunately for me, I have the right teeth, and I was able to, be successful with it. And since then, I've really just practiced and been very lucky that I have a good eye and a good set of teeth for it.
Are your earrings of the same technique?
Yes, they are. Just want to make sure they're laying the right way. So the ones that I'm wearing now are actually my first piece of wearable bitten work. Traditionally, this isn't something that would have been worn. What you would have seen this type of artwork used for in the past is designs for beadwork or quilt work. But I decided that I really wanted to do something wearable and sort of make it more contemporary. So even though it's a really ancient, old skill, I've contemporized it.
You're also represented here in photographs.
That's correct.
Could you tell us a little bit about them and how it makes you feel being on display like that?
Oh, wow, that's a lot of pressure. The photographs were actually submitted by my mom, so that makes me feel very proud. So one of the photographs is of my ex-husband, my daughter, and I when my daughter was about 2.5 months old. And that photo was actually taken of us in our traditional outfits in Alaska, which was significant because that's actually where she was conceived. That's a really nice photo. It's probably, let's see, she's it's almost 15 years old now. And then the other photo is actually one of my most favorite photos in the world. It's a photo of my mom and I in our traditional outfits, and it's really great. I love seeing photos of us because we don't have very many, and it was really nice to have someone take that photo and for it to be representative in an exhibit with lots of other Abenaki folks is really humbling.
Well, you look beautiful today.
Thank you.
It's so wonderful to see you.
You too.
Is there any other information you'd like our viewers to know about your work or about the exhibit?
This exhibit is significant because it's all Abenaki artists. We're seeing a resurgence in Abenaki art and have been for probably the last decade. And so every exhibit like this that we have is just another step that takes us closer to being more unified. And it really expresses the fact that, you know, we're still here. And even though we spent hundreds of years hiding in plain sight, we don't have to hide anymore. And that's really important.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So you've recently received permission for your tribe to have predator feathers. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, we wanted to have the same rights to practice our spirituality as federal tribes. You know, we're no less of an Indian than federal tribes, so we asked the Department of Interior, and we happened to come to a settlement agreement in order to be able to possess Native American feathers, not Native American feathers, sorry, eagle feathers or bird of prey feathers under our Freedom of Religion Act, and so we are one of the first state tribes to have that right, other than the Lopan Apache Church, who was able to do it. So for us, it's a huge accomplishment because we can practice our spirituality without having worrying about prosecution. And in turn, we were able to get a threatened and endangered species permit from the state of Vermont, so that way our citizens can practice freely.
And do you find that a lot of your members are interested in this?
Yes, I mean, there's people who are interested in carrying eagle feathers. I mean, you have a mixture. Some people, you know, openly want to carry them and use them in their spiritual ceremonies. Other people want to have them close by and don't carry them with them. So it's a mixed bag, you know, but the point is not whether they are carrying them or not, is that they can, if they so choose, which before they didn't have that right. So now they do.
You're also exhibiting some of your art here. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think part of that is identity and pride. I like to make bone and stone chokers and porcupine quill necklaces and a few other things. We do these things because it not only links us to our past when they use bone and stone, but we use more modern tools. So mine are made out of buffalo bone and stone, and back in the olden days it'd be out of bone and soapstone. So I mean, we're still carrying on the tradition. It's just modernized, just like our ancestors would do. They would take advantage of the things that come to them that are new.
Thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you'd like our viewers to know?
Well, I think overall, I think they should come down and see the exhibit because identity with clothing, you know, people use clothing for different reasons, right? They use it for utility, they use it for you know, identity, and they just use it for just normal everyday wear. So clothing can cross a lot of boundaries, and no matter what culture you're in, it kind of gives you that sense of textiles throughout the years. And I think it's very important to continue our heritage.
Chief Don, would you introduce yourself a little bit for our viewers?
Okay, I'm Chief Don Stevens of the Nulhegan Band of Coosac, Abenaki Nation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The coats have their own stories. Putting together an exhibit is a way to bring awareness for our culture. It's a way I can utilize all of the knowledge that I've gained through the years. And one of the things that I probably noticed more than anything is how much combined research people in the Abenaki Nation have done. We're not just artists. Many of us are researchers. And it's important to honor the research that everybody has done about our culture and to try and put the pieces together to tell our story in a manner that represents all of our people, to honor our ancestors, and to bring our art, culture, and history into the foreground in a mainstream environment. Because all too often, our culture has been presented as a thing of the past. When school kids learn about Abenaki history, it stops in the 18th century. And most kids don't even know we're alive. Even in Vermont, in a state where we have recognition, many people don't know we exist. So it's nice to have the opportunity in an exhibit like this to have examples that are based on history, not original artifacts or anything like that, but they are pieces of art that are informed by history, and next to photos of contemporary people. When you're in the exhibit space, there's a photo coupling that I really love of Arthur Whitecloud, who is, sadly, he is passed on. But in the photo, he's overlooking a photo of his daughter, Willow Green, and his granddaughter, Liz Charlebois. And that just kind of acknowledges that we feel our ancestors are with us and they guide us. I think it was grandmother Doris Minkler who said something to the effect of the ancestors are like fireflies and they guide our way. And I think that's what's happened in the curatorial process. I think they've just kind of guided our way. We will
Hello everybody. John and Vera asked us to do a little song. You see that this drum really is a little bit undersized for me because it's my grandson's drum, the one that's up there. So it's going to be a little louder, and we're going to do something simple that you guys can learn. Most of you guys, the native people, sing it all the time. But I mean people who are not native, it's just a welcome song. It's called Quano Day. So pretty simple. You can follow along after the first beat.
Quando
Sometimes we do Micmac honor song as well. We're part of the Wabanaki Confederacy, so if people don't know about the Wabanaki Confederacy, it's the Mi'kmaq, the Penobscot, Passamaquoddy, Wolastoqiyik, and the Abenaki. And we all fought with the French on the same side as the French. And we still go to those traditional confederacies today. The next one's in Nova Scotia this coming year. We're also part of the 7 Nations of Canada, which are Iroquois tribes, the Huron, Algonquin, and the Abenaki. So we're kind of in the middle of both of those confederacies. So we do borrow their songs with their permissions to sing now and then. So sometimes we'll do the Micmac honor song. So we'll do an honor song for honoring John and Flynn and allowing us to put our venue together. And thank you, Vera, for all the hard work. This really started, just not to go off tangent, but in 2000, I say 4 or 5, when we went for recognition. And one of the reasons we wanted to do that was not only be proud of our heritage, but also so our artists could be appreciated as being Native American made. Not the artists themselves, but the stuff they made. Well, that too. That too. Yeah. So we kind of united at that point and gained recognition, and this is kind of really a proud day for everybody, including the chiefs. There's such beautiful things. I mean, those coats alone are they could stand on their own. It's not only useful for ceremonial, but art, and everything else that's here. And I have to say, Vera was tasked by the chiefs to try to come up with this artist association back in 2004. She took on the challenge, and look at what's happened today. So I'm very proud of Vera, and I want to thank Eloise. The Maritime Museum has have backed us for a long time before recognition was even a possibility. So they've been an awesome partner. Same with Echo Center. And but now we're starting to branch out, and it's great to see these venues here. So I'll be quiet now and do the honor song. Anybody else knows it, please jump in.
Taoni Kidalausin Pongizyat Queenata Sekwi Awaji Ayodali Kagwila Ta